Good morning on Friday. Happy Friday, TGIF, the 16th of October, 2020. Pastor Ron Jetter, Immanuel Lutheran Church, Grandview, Washington. Yesterday, after I sent out my message, I opened the back door and looked out onto the lawn and noticed that even though it was getting chilly at nights, the days are still in the mid-60s, and by tomorrow, the weekend, it might even be back in the 70s, and that the trees seem to be going along just fine. They're not really losing their leaves. They're still very green. The lawn is still very green. I will have to mow it again. It's wet in the mornings because there's dew, but there's only the cool nights and the cool mornings give us that hint that fall is in the air. At the same time, my subconscious knows that it's coming, that winter is on its way. I had a dream last night, a very vivid dream, and I often dream, but I don't always remember them when I wake up. But in this dream, I opened my back door and looked out, and it was cold and foggy. The light was dim in the air, very, very chilly, and overnight, 80% of the leaves in my two trees had fallen. They had gone from green to yellow to brown, and the yard was full of leaves. Well, this morning, just before coming on, I had to go and look. And I knew what I would see. I would see exactly what I expected to see, which was what I saw yesterday. The trees still green, the lawn still green, the leaves not really beginning to fall yet. But it was such a vivid dream, and I know that the picture in my mind that is stored because of that dream will come true. It's my mind. Dreams have a way of saying this is what can happen. It's a way of processing the future. We can't see the future directly, but we can dream potential futures. And in this one, I do expect that maybe a month from now or two, I will open my back door and I will see the sky dim and full of fog and mist, and the tree all but bare, and the leaves on the ground. Interesting. Sometimes God may speak to us in dreams, that sense that we're being led or called or shown something. And yet dreams can also be very random. It helps to have someone to talk a dream over. It was because of that, though, that I have dreams on the mind today. It has really nothing to do with our text. In fact, today's text deals with the name of God. What is God's name? Well, we call God God. It's not a name, it's a title. Like Dad. My grandkids call me Opa. They call Sue Oma, German for grandfather and grandmother. And the other grandparents, Grandma says, I'm Grandma, just Grandma. And the other grandpa says, I'll be Papa. I like that. So they've got an Opa and they've got a Papa and an Oma and a Grandma. And it keeps us all separate that way. My grandparents, it was just Grandma, the two grandmas, and then Grandpa. He was Grandpa. And by the time I was 8 years old, it was just Grandpa. There was no confusion. He was the only one left alive. He was 73 when I was born. So I kind of came along a little late in things. We have a lot of distance between our generations in our family, especially with me being the youngest of all the cousins. But what is God's name? What is God's real name? What do we call God? Well, the ancient Hebrews have this phrase, and it's spelled out just with consonants, because when the Hebrew scribes wrote out the Bible, writing from right to left, top to bottom, they would write only the consonants, and you had to know what the vowels were. And so that's why the scribes were so important in the interpretation of the written word, because they knew what the vowels were. They were the experts, and they passed that knowledge on down. And so they would take the Hebrew Y, the Yod, and then put the H, Het, and then Ve, and then Het, YHVH, which, and then if you put in vowels, it would be pronounced Yahweh or Yahweh, but they didn't pronounce it. It was too holy to pronounce it. And what it really means is the God who is. He is. God is. I am who I am. That's all it means. It's a title. It means you're not going to get a name out of me. And that's what really Yahweh means. It means don't even think about asking me if I have a name. Does God even need a name? Of course not. But God knows we need to address him somehow. Our Father who art in heaven. So, okay, there's a relationship and there's an address. That's the kind of thing that we need. We need somehow to be able to call on God. And like this Tom Hanks movie, Joe and the Volcano, where he says, "Oh God, whose name I do not know, thank you for my life." Sometimes we may feel like God, whose name we do not know. And in fact, we don't know God's name. Sometime during the Middle Ages, though, they combined two Hebrew words. Now, for instance, when Jews to this day are reading Yahweh, they don't say the word Yahweh. It's too holy, so they say instead Adonai, which means my Lord, or Elohim, my God. And we've talked before during the study on Genesis about the word El, Beth El, house of God. Eliyah, my God is Yah. We pronounce it Elisha, or Elijah. Elisha, Eliyah, Elijah, and Elisha. So we anglicize the pronunciation. But the El tells us, oh, okay, that is the word God. And so they would not pronounce the word Yahweh, even though that was written. They would simply say, Elohim Adonai, the Lord our God, or Adonai Elohim. And it's in their prayers the same way. Baruch atah Adonai Elohim, and so on. Blessed are you, O Lord our God. In the Middle Ages, they took the vowels from Adonai, A-O-A, and the consonants from Yahweh. And there's no J in Hebrew, but there was in Old English. So they come up with this made-up word, Jehovah. And the word Jehovah is very much in our vocabulary. That's God's name. Well, it's not God's name. It's a combination of Hebrew words in a way that the Israelites never did, that Jews today don't acknowledge. Really doesn't have any historical or biblical validity. It's simply some group decided we're going to start calling God Jehovah. And of course, when religion came to America, somebody said, well, we're going to use that. We like that. Jehovah. Sounds so, I don't know, majestic or something. Now, into the text. Moses said to God, this is Exodus, by the way, we're still in chapter 3. We're just going to go a couple of verses today. Verse 13. If I come to the Israelites and say to them, the God of your ancestors has sent me to you, and they ask me, what is his name? What shall I say to them? Moses wants to know God's name. Why? If you have God's name, you have a power over God. You have a way to call upon God. That's what they did. They would carve amulets, and they'd have statues. They would light candles and all these rituals to please their false gods. And they would call upon those gods by name. And God said to Moses, verse 14, I am who I am. Thus you shall say to the Israelites, I am has sent me to you. God also said to Moses, you shall say to the Israelites, the Lord, the God of your ancestors, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob has sent me to you. This is my name forever. This is my title for all generations. So Moses is being commanded to return to Egypt, where there is no statute of limitations on a Hebrew murdering an Egyptian, I'm sure. Even though Pharaoh has died, but the son of Pharaoh is now Pharaoh, and that son may well know of Moses. After all, was it not his sister who adopted Moses? We can infer that Moses may have been raised partly in the royal house, and in the movies, the popular Disney movies, the two are brothers right up until Moses then kills an Egyptian and has to flee. Then he returns back to his one-time brother, who's now Pharaoh, his enemy. And that may have been the way it was, but that's not the importance of the story. So we have to make up details for Hollywood. For us, though, what we get is God saying, I am who I am. That's it. That's the only name you're going to get forever. Don't ever try. I am who I am. Yahweh. I am. See you tomorrow, and I bet you the leaves are still going to be green and on the tree then too.